So this is a session on not tuning strings, but teaching your kids how to tune their instruments, because it's really important for your kids to develop those ears to be able to match a pitch and have those that sensitivity to just find changes in pitch for their finger position, for everything. It saves a lot of time in the long run, because over the course of one school year, if you have a class of about 50 kids in your orchestra, and you spend about 5 seconds on each one at the beginning of every class, that's about 3 weeks of instruction you're missing, or something ridiculous like that. So it saves time in the long run, teaching your kids to tune right off the bat. And for different situations and different ensembles, it might take a little bit longer to go through some of these phases. But these are the 5 phases, 5.1 phases that I go through, like Dolby surround sound. And the 0.1 is not a subwoofer. Sorry, that's my little bit of humor there. Yeah. Okay. Phase 1, just right off the bat. As soon as they get at their instrument for the first time, I try not to take it away from them to tune it and give it back to them. I try to do it while it's on them. Like they're holding it, teach them how to hold it first, and then we can go through and tune everything. I encourage tuning from a cello, because that's what Mike Schaefer said, and he said something about it being backed up by research, so I agree with that. Because our ears here, we can tune to lower pitches easier than we can tune to higher pitches, obviously. And because you have cellos and basses, you would want to tune them based off of the violin. So the cello gets its pitch from some sort of reference. I like tonal energy. How many of you guys have this app? Like everybody? So anyways, tune the cello with some sort of a drone or reference that you trust. If that's a tuning fork, I know a lot of people swear by tuning forks. They'll get a tuning fork and tune their cello that way. I just use tonal energy, and I have it on equal temperament. So that way you have your A. Was that 440? So just regular pizzicato tune. This one is not in tune. There we go. It's close enough, right? Because remember, this is just a reference for everybody else. As soon as the cello is in tune, then you don't need this anymore, because everything else is going to happen based off of your cello reference. And it's going to be like this for every single phase, 1 through 5.1, or even beyond that. I'm going to always use that cello as a reference. So once you have this cello reference, you can keep that pitch in your head. Just go from kid to kid to kid to kid. I'm going to get you some instruments here. One thing I forgot to mention, before you do anything, I would go through each of their instruments and see that everybody has fine tuners that actually turn. If they have an instrument that has fine tuners that are stuck or jammed or won't turn, then look very, see what kind of fine tuner it is, like if it's embedded in the tailpiece, or if it's like one of the separate ones, see what kind of fine tuner it is, and find it on Amazon and email their parents a link to that fine tuner. Because if they get a link to Amazon, it's hard to find an excuse not to actually buy it for most families. This is like day 1 of having instruments on shoulders. Like I said, you want to have that cello reference pitch, and the cello player feels so proud that they serve a purpose in life. And you can rotate between cello players of who gets to be the reference pitch of the day. Get that pitch out of your head. Get that pitch in your head. No. So then you ask them all to get in playing position, and hopefully you talked about that previous to this. So then you just ask them, can you pizzicato your A string? And to make things go quickly, you want to make sure the next person is ready when you're on this person. So I would instruct the class, okay, when I get to the person before you, make sure you're in a playing position so we can go right through. So you pizzicato your A, and then right off the bat you can ask, does that sound like this A? Does that sound about this A? And then I'll be like, yeah or no, and it doesn't really matter, you just gotta ask it. So, yeah, your A, fantastic, your A. Ooh, did that sound the same as that other A? And kids are smart. They can figure out oh wait, that didn't sound like that. Okay. So then I might ask the first student again, can you play me your A? And then could you play me your A? And then I would like reach over by their chin, make sure your hands are nice and clean smelling, and then ask them to pizzicato again until it's just about right. Okay, next person, go through the whole class. Yeah, keep going. Ooh, yeah, class. And as long as you want the A string.
Oh. Hey, this is a viola. Thanks. Welcome to the viola world.
Okay, so phase one, we go through and do that with the A and D string. If you could, just for time's sake, could you go through and do the D string real quick, just to make sure that that's. So as soon as kids learn how to use their bow, which if you're teaching 5th grade, maybe after, a few weeks or a month or whatever your time schedule is. As soon as your kids are pretty comfortable using the bow and can make a legato bow stroke, slow and steady. That's not a dude, is it? So once your cellos can make a legato, or your violins too, once everybody can make a legato bow stroke, that's when, instead of asking the kid to pizzicato, you're obviously asking the kid to bow. And really the only difference between phase 1 and phase 2 is that you have a bow in your hand. You're still reaching out, you're still tuning the kids with fine tuners. But you're asking more questions, like which way do I need to go? Instead of just, is this in tune or not? Which way do I need to go? And ask them to show you with their hand. I used to do thumbs up and thumbs down, but that got really confusing because, okay, show me with your hands, like, is this person in tune? Yeah, this person's in tune. Wait, I thought that meant they're sharp. So I use like an open hand, like so. So, for example, let's mess you up. Okay, so the kids, we get a reference pitch. Let's have you be our reference because nobody's sitting in the cello chair. Okay, we have a reference A there. Okay, now Leanna, would you please? Now ask the whole class. Show me with your hand. Is Leanna too high or too low? And the whole class sticks up their hand. Oh, too low. Okay. So then I'm going to ask them to adjust their hand as I adjust Leanna's tuning. So I ask them to stay down here until it gets really close. Once it's close, I ask them to change it to like a 45-degree angle. And then don't move here until it's exactly there. Because if you do this and it's gradual, it's really hard to read their understanding. Like, because kids will just go to the middle, like, and just kind of hang out here. Like, yeah, it's kind of like in tune-ish. Like, once you know it's in tune, boom, right there in the middle. So I'm going to ask all of you to do that with Leanna. So go ahead and give me that reference page again. Okay, now show me, class. So I'm going to go purely off of what I see here. Keep walking, please. And then, this is in phase 2, so we're using bows. Okay, can you please use a bow? Thank you. And I'm going to ask you to use a bow as well. Do you have a bow? Let's use a bow. Bows for everyone. Cool. So we're on phase 2 here. And you're going to give us the reference, the cello of the day, who is our reference pitch. Would you please hold that out very smooth and legato? Give us that A. And keep playing that until we get through pretty much it. So, yeah. Push your hand with your hands. Ooh, yeah, can you hear the wah-wahs there? Okay, now let me know when I hit it. I still see some thumbs down, so I'm going to keep going up. Oh, but I see some thumbs up now. Did I go too far? Okay. Alright, I see everybody straight across now. So will we all agree this is in tune? And then, yeah. Now, I wouldn't do this with the entire class, because that would take more than all class period. I usually do it with 3 or 4 kids a day, for this phase at least, for phase 2. If I'm in a hurry, if I have a rehearsal that I know there's going to be like really busy, and a concert next week, then I'll do maybe one kid, but at least one kid. Always do it every day. So the whole class is actively listening and trying to tell you where that pitch is supposed to go. Okay? Oh, that was phase 3. So phase 2, what's the difference? Yeah, teacher's tune. Okay, but with the bow. That's the difference between phase 1 and phase 2. Okay, so what we just did was phase 3 with the hand signs. I move on to phase 4 when I feel like most of them pretty much got it. Like as soon as it is in tune with no wah-wahs, they move their hand there at about the right time. Then I think we can go on to phase 4, which is teaching students to use their own fine tuners. This could be a process that could take quite a bit of time. And I remember for my 6th graders, it took a few class periods, not like the whole class period, but a few like first half of the class periods to get everybody to be able to hold it up with their face and shoulder bow and reach around for the fine tuners. So that's the next phase. And to teach them how to do that, I basically just demonstrate it. Like, okay, everybody, violins and violas carefully. I would like you to bow your A string for me, starting at the tip, just like as if you were tuning. Join in. Okay, now you're going to take your left hand, and you're just going to let go, but hold it up with your face. I'd have them practice without bowing first, like, hey, can you hold it up with your face without bowing? And then, add the bowing. Once they can do that, I ask them, okay, now take your left hand and tuck it underneath your bow and reach and see if you can touch your fine tuning. See if you can touch the A string fine tuning. Okay? Once they can touch it, then I ask them to fiddle with it and turn and stuff like that. So now, in just like phase 3, I ask for like 3 or 4 kids a day. Like, let's mess men up this time. All right? So let's make you. So, cello reference pitch. Would you please give me your A? Ben, let's all tune Ben as a class. Okay, everybody, show me with your hands. Where is Ben? Go ahead, play Ben. Oh, I agree. Yes, he is a bit sharp. So Ben, we want to go lefty loosey, and this is even hard for me to do, and it's probably hard for some of you to do. Like when your hand is going like this. How do you even know which way is loose and which way is tight, right? So what I tell kids is, did it get better or did it get worse? And if it gets better, keep going in that direction. If it gets worse, go the other direction. And if they give you, but I'm not sure if it's in tune or not. Okay, well turn it. Either direction, doesn't even matter, turn it. If it gets worse, then turn it back to where it was. And if it gets worse again, turn it back to where it was. Then, hey, you were in tune. But that's really the only way that you can find out if you're in tune or not, I find, is to make it out of tune and then go back into tune. So yeah, that thing, so that's phase 4, having kids use their own fine tuners. And this phase right here is why it is so incredibly important that every kid in your class has fine tuners that work. If you find some that are really jammed and really stuck, like I said, maybe take a picture of it and find them on Amazon. So you can email a link to their parents so they can get new fine tuners. Or you could just get it out of your school budget if you have a budget for it and you're feeling charitable. Or you could get the Suzuki style, like on the string fine tuners. If you have a tailpiece that actually works, it doesn't work for all of them. Like this one, it wouldn't work. And yeah, it has some drawbacks as well. But just like if you're in a quick pinch and you have a handful of those and you can just slap one on, it can kind of get you out of a bind temporarily. So yeah, kids use their own fine tuners on phase 4. Once you feel like they start doing it by themselves without even looking at the rest of the class, like they're not even looking to see, okay, people think I'm sharp, people think I'm flat, oh, their eyebrows told me that I just went the wrong direction. Once they start doing it by themselves and you get a sense for it, then it's time to move on to phase 5, which is students tune themselves. So the process, designated cello, you could rotate from day to day, or if you go through the whole class, then you're gonna have to rotate within that day because those cellos are like, oh, can I stop now? ensemble quietly joins in with their A string. I start out section by section, or maybe even just small group by small group. Because if you say, everybody in the whole class give me an A, that reference pitch gets buried really quickly. And unless they all have a really good tonal memory, that's not going to be easy for them to do. So everything in this whole process with all these phases, everything is really gradual. It's not like shifting gears, like boom, I'm in phase 3 now. Like there's so much overlap between everything. And use your own intuition to decide like, okay, I think they're ready for this. Oh, I guess they weren't ready. Let's kind of keep doing some of this stuff from before. There's still always going to be kids who need help. You know, they're not all going to get it at exactly the same time. So when I move on to phase 5, there's still a good 20% of the class that will raise their bow because they just need help. Like, I just can't tell Mr. Gates what's going on here. And when they need help, I try as hard as I can not to do it for them. Like everything I can do to say, well, what do you think? Well, I don't think it sounds right. I agree. I don't think it sounds right. Why don't you try adjusting it and see what happens? Okay. And then they'll adjust it and they'll either get it better or worse. And then you ask them, hey, do you think that got better or worse? And they know all the answers. Like, yeah, that got worse. Okay, so go the other direction. And then when they finally get it in tune, and if they go over, you can maybe kind of help them out a little bit. Like, oh, I think you just went a little past it. But once they finally get there, that's when you pour the encouragement on them. Like, you just did that. I didn't even really help you. I just asked you questions. Like, you did all of it by yourself. So that's really what we're trying to get at, is that they realize that, oh, I can do this by myself. Same thing with the 3 or 4 kids from the reference cello, only this time it's without a reference cello. So I got Ben here, and he's going to play an A and a D. And you're going to start at the tip.
Okay.
Yep. And okay, so then we ask the class. Ideally, there would be one. Obviously, the A string would be the one that's in tune, but I'm not sure if it is this time. No. So let's. So it is the D string inside of tune. All right. So he's going to play parallel A and D on with both of his strings with one bow, and you have to be really careful about what you say here. So I usually say like high or low note instead of A or D, because a lot of like, if a violin player is looking at that, they're like, they're A and they're E. What are they doing there? So the high note or the low note, I tell them, okay, the high note is in tune and the low note is not. Tell me with your hand which way you think the low note needs to go to make a good sound, to make a consonant sound, for it to be in tune. So show me with your hands. So I see some thumbs up, I see some thumbs down, we're not sure. So
Yeah,
Which way needs to go?
So the low note.
The question was, the way you asked it, it was which way was it?
Oh, yes, yes,
But
yes.
then we've been doing which way is it?
Yeah, which way is it? I'm sorry. Yeah, which way is it?
Okay.
Is definitely that. Like if the pitch is too low, this is what they show me. If the pitch is too high.
Alright.
Like my kids all know what I mean because we do it so much. But I understand you guys,
Okay.
like as
So
professional
same thing.
musicians, you're like, oh wait a second. Technically, okay. So yes,
So
show
which
me
way it
which direction that low string is so we can adjust it. How about that? All right, go ahead. Cool. Now Ben, can you reach around and adjust that D string? It looks like the class is telling you it needs to go up because they're saying you're flat.
That's the wrong line.
I see thumbs changing. So you still need to go a little further. I saw a couple thumbs go to the middle. Yeah. Yeah, and then I asked, what do you think? Does that sound in tune to you?
Sounds a lot better.
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, please, okay, I shouldn't tell you what to do, but I make sure that I invest at least 2 to 3 to 4 kids each day doing just that, with the whole class participating. It gets everybody actively engaged and involved when you have them like being the judge. Like they're the ones telling him if he's in tune or not. And because they've already done that with their open string, like without the double stop, like tuning just the A string, I find that phase goes a little bit quicker because their ears are they're already used to listening for that dissonance and the consonants. So they hear that consonants coming and approaching and they get that a little bit quicker, it seems. But yeah, that's what I got. You can take it or leave it. But I do, like, the big thing I want to get across is just start early and invest a lot of time in it, like right off the bat in the first couple of years. So that way you're in a position, like, I feel like towards the end of this year, tuning is not even going to be a part of class. It's just like the first 30 seconds of class, and you have the whole rest of the time to play with in-tune instruments. And I strongly advise against just not tuning because you don't have time. Because that's a whole lot of bad habits, and like we have to develop ears, right? And if you're a kid playing on an instrument that's even slightly out of tune, you're messing with finger position, and you're probably gonna get some frustration because they're gonna be like, man, it just doesn't sound right, you know? And if they have that tool to be able to say, okay, that doesn't sound right, but I can do something about it, like halfway through a song, like, oh, my D sounds flat, fix it. Like, that's big, I think.